So we
This is-
share Steven Semler quite a bit on the podcast. He does great work. You can check him out via radindiemedia.com. But so interestingly enough, once that what do you want to call it? I call it a pause. I call it a reloading pause.
Yeah,
They paused long enough to reload.
They like to call it a humanitarian pause. It's really a reloading pause.
Which that's bullshit. Humanitarian pause, my ass. So basically that window of time to reload, during that time, as Steven Semler writes, he basically says that the failure to extend that pause has an effect, will have a domino effect on U.S. troops. And that sounds kind of, but what he writes here is, since October 17th, around the time the U.S. began to ramp up its assistance to Israel and beef up its military presence in the Middle East, U.S. troops in Iraq and Syria have been attacked 73 times by local militias, reportedly affiliated with Iran, because, of course, just, slap that label on anyone. One contractor died, no troop deaths yet. The Pentagon reported that there have been, quote, several dozen injuries, including traumatic brain injuries. And as the chart below points out, the pace of the attacks is staggering. And so he also writes that the chart also shows 0 attacks on U.S. troops in Iraq and Syria in the 6 days since Thanksgiving, coinciding perfectly with the aforementioned 6-day truce. So it seems that there is regional resistance to the U.S. backing of Israel.
Yeah.
And when there's a reloading pause, then that resistance, that militance draws back. And now we should expect to see that rise again, because, and I really don't so people think that everybody but Americans are stupid, which is hilarious to me because so often it's the opposite. People around the world understand the connections here, just like, people in Venezuela know that's U.S. imperialism that's causing them pain and suffering. It's not their president. People in the Middle East are well aware of the U.S. backing of Israel and what that means for their safety and security. So it's not at all surprising to see these kind of reports and this kind of response from groups in the region that understand what's going on with regards to Israel and the United States.
Yeah, and it shows that the idea that they tell a lot of Americans, that the U.S. tells a lot of Americans that supporting Israel is good for our security, is completely false.
Yeah.
This actually shows the opposite, that as Israel is committing this genocide, it is dangerous for U.S. troops.
Right. And if you look at that graph, it's like a huge spike in attacks on U.S. troops in Iraq and Syria. And yeah, so it turns out that being on the side of genocide is not really the best place to be.